Hey guys, so today we're going to be filming our first coffee chat episode. Someone requested in our comments if we can do more talking videos about specific topics. So since we both love coffee, we decided to chat over coffee, hence coffee chats. Today's topic is going to be all about university and our experience throughout each year and some of the advice that we've had because someone's graduating in a few days. So how should we start? Should we go through years?
I guess we'll go through each year, talk about, give a rough overview about that year, and then maybe give one piece of advice we would have given ourselves.
Okay.
This is going to be a long video. We'll put timings so you can check which part they want to see.
Because it's literally 4 years of our lives.
Yeah.
And both of us, that's 8 years combined.
Excellent.
Should we start right before university about getting into university, or do we start right in first year? Because we both had different experiences.
I guess we could talk about that too.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So my experience of getting into university was interesting. So basically during grade 12 I was doing really well. I was focused, I was getting my grades up and I was doing well, and I applied. So in Canada we have an option of you get a set package and you get to pick 3 universities for 1 fee. And so the 3 that I did was University of Toronto St. George, University of Toronto Scarborough, and Waterloo, which is a bit farther away from where we live. And I did life science for everything, and then we have the option of applying to any other school, but an additional fee. So I don't want to pay so much money, so I'm okay, just in case I don't get into these top 3, then I applied to Ryerson University as well, also life science. I applied to those 4, and what happens after? Oh yeah, so then we had to wait. I forget, it's 4 years ago, so I remember we had to wait, and they say around May or June you get your results. I don't even know, but there's round 1s, round 2, there's a bunch of rounds. And so the first one that I got accepted was into Waterloo, and we got super early acceptance. When was it? February or January?
Yeah, you got February.
February, and I was shook. I was I didn't expect this, and I think I was one of the first kids in our school to get accepted, and it was such a weird feeling because
everyone else is talking.
I was I'm pretty sure somebody else got it. It's not just me. So that was weird for me. And so that was the first one I got into, but it was my second choice. I wanted to go to U of T St. George first, then Waterloo, then UTC, and then Ryerson as my backup. And then I got into the 2 U of Ts after. They came during the same time, I think in March, and then I got into Ryerson after that. And so I accepted U of T St. George immediately because that was my number 1. But then halfway through there were some mishaps that happened. Am I gonna explain this really sad story?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a very sad story. I didn't tell many people. So I ended up getting senioritis, which is when you basically slack off and don't do as well, because I already got into all my universities. I got early acceptance. I'm oh, I'm good, And so I ended up not doing well in calculus, and so there was a minimum grade for U of T St. George, which was 70. I think I got a 66 or something. So I basically couldn't go anywhere, and I asked the guidance counselor what I can do. She was oh, so you just have to do summer school. I'm I don't want to do summer school. So then this is during end of June, where almost all the universities' acceptance dates are closed. So I ended up calling UTSC. I cried for a minute at home, and then okay. Then I got into action mode. I'm I have to go somewhere.
You cried?
Who doesn't cry when they realize that they can't go where they want to go? And so I ended up calling UTSC's registrar, and they're yeah, you can accept us. I'm really? Okay, just like that. That's how I got accepted into university.
My experience was a little bit different than hers because she kind of knew she wanted to do just life science, so that was her one.
I also had a lot of pressure being the first person in our family to go to university. I was I have to get in, so it was pretty intense.
Yeah,
now you can continue
I feel though our parents were kind of confused as to what the process was. So you were kind of the trial run.
Yeah, I'm always a trial run.
So anything that happens to you is kind of seen as the standard. One of the main differences between both of us is that she knew she wanted to do life science for so long. So all the programs she applied to was life science. But for me, it was kind of I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have that knowing that you knew. So I was just knowing. I didn't know what my passion was because I liked a lot of things. But then everyone kind of expected me to do life science because you were doing it. So I applied to life science because of you. And I just assumed I would go in psychology if I were to do life science. And then I realized you need calculus for that. And I was struggling with math in high school because it didn't come naturally to me. Or maybe I didn't try hard enough. I don't know. A little bit of both, to be honest. And so at one point I just knew I didn't want to do life science. I got accepted into UTSC, but then I realized I don't want to do calculus, so I kind of just dropped the life science path. At Ryerson I applied to psychology because I had an interest in it. York I did social work, and U of T I did St. George I did ethics and law, which was a social science program. I got accepted into all the programs, but now it's just kind of choosing what I wanted to do.
Remember you were so stressed that you weren't going to get accepted?
Yeah, this is a different thing. So she had pressure as in, what are you going to do? What's the process from our parents? For me, it was kind of dismissive, where it was like, oh, like Shaq got in, so you'll get into all four, don't worry. And I was worried because I was like, what if I don't do the same thing as her? Like, what if I don't get into everything? And I saw all these people getting into accepted, like into higher programs and things like that. So I was getting stressed, and it was like a very negative time.
Yeah, I understand from her point of view. It's like so much more pressure.
Every time someone said you'll get in, I felt like you guys were dismissing the fact that I might not. So it was kind of stressful. And I feel like at 17, it's a lot of pressure to choose what you want to do with your lives.
The whole future,
It's money, it's, you know.
Time.
So I had to like narrow it down. But social work, I thought there was more opportunities in there, and I could do law if I wanted to, or a master's. So I chose social work. And yeah, so I chose social work. That was that
you
process.
You forgot to tell the part where you got early acceptance in December.
Yeah.
So you're
like I applied to York, right? And then I got an email literally 3 days later saying I got accepted.
We thought it was spam or something.
Yeah, because there was also like this scandal going on where Ryerson sent out acceptance letters. I didn't get that letter, but a lot of people like got false hopes. So I thought York also had some kind of hacking done. Because 3 days later I got an acceptance, and I'm like, what?
And I thought I got an
acceptance. It's like, congratulations. And I showed it to her. I'm like, does this make sense? She's like, no, it doesn't make sense. You literally applied 3 days ago.
They don't accept anybody in December. They start in January.
And then, so after that, I kind of got relief. But I think it was quite funny because York was like my last option. It was just like a backup of a backup.
Same, even UTSC was Ryerson was my last, but UTSC was like number 3.
Yeah.
So it's funny how that worked out.
It was like, and then it became our top option. So
yeah, so that's how we got in basically. Okay, moving on to first year. So I guess I'll start. So going into first year was super hard because I had my courses planned out for the St. George campus, and so transitioning was really hard because I didn't know the course codes and what each equivalent was. And so luckily I had a friend who was older. She helped me throughout, and she told me these courses you should take, and she gave me tips on like electives to take, so that was really helpful. And so overall first year was interesting. So the first semester was hard in the sense that it was fast-paced because I had to take 5 courses to apply to pharmacy school. Very time-consuming, and that part was where I had the most trouble. So content-wise, it was all like grade 12, like chemistry, bio was all grade 12 content, but just keeping up with the pace of all the work was the hardest part for me, so that's where I fell behind in first year.
For me, it was also a bit different because I saw her go through first year, so I saw the course content, so I was kind of preparing myself to be hit with that pace, I guess, because I saw her go through it. But another thing was our courses are very different. So she had bio, chem, calculus, and all these things. I had social work courses, psychology courses, because I was interested in it. And I also took Justice for Children and the Solar System course. So it was kind of all over the place. But these courses were, I feel like it was lighter in content compared to you. So you were doing a lot more like problems and labs and things, and I was doing more critical reflection, journal entries. I was kind of shocked because like I liked the courses and there was no math. Except for that one solar system course. Maybe that should be a tip. Sometimes course descriptions will say one thing and the actual course is completely different. Yeah, and I think that was my first time also taking online courses, and I discovered if you put stuff away to do later, it will add up. So yeah, that was kind of my first year. And did you find that because there's a lot more food options, you were kind of eating everything? I did.
I'm a cheap person, so I don't spend when I go out as much.
I learned over the years how to budget, but first year, like, I went crazy because like I remember in grade 12 I used to
slurp my coffee.
The freshman 15 ended up being freshman 30 or something. That was basically first year. First year for me was just kind of figuring out school, trying not to get lost on campus, and figuring out like a routine, I guess, of like working, like studying, and then coming home. It was literally school, home, and balancing like the schoolwork.
I forgot to mention, my biggest failure was in first year.
Oh, what?
And so during second semester of first year, that's when the course content started to become a bit more hard, and I ended up failing calculus, which was the first thing I've ever failed in my life.
That was first year?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I did not know.
Calculus has been the death of me since day one. So yeah, I ended up failing calculus. And I remember it was like the most devastating life event ever, and I cried for a long time. And then again, I went into my like problem solving mode, and I immediately applied for summer school. I was waitlisted number 50, and somehow I got in. That prof was the worst. He never taught anything, but I'm not gonna blame him. It's partially my fault too, because first year I wasn't studying as well. So then I ended up doing summer school and passed calculus in the summer. So one piece of advice for first year was that?
I'm trying to think. Like, so because my biggest challenge first year was trying to find like your pace, right? So making sure you're on top of your work.
See, that was my biggest challenge.
Because I think you can get caught on with how much freedom you have in uni. So
no set schedule except for your courses, and there's such big gaps at times in between. So
so like really making sure you're getting all your stuff done and having a schedule.
Also textbooks. First year is when I learned that you don't have to buy your textbooks. You can find PDFs. People share it. There's course reserves at school. I spent way too much money during first year.
Yeah.
If you know the right people, you get all your textbooks.
True. I didn't discover course reserves till I think second or third year. It's basically the same textbook put on loan in the library for 2 hours. So you take it out for free, do your work. Because let's be real, no one reads their textbook more than 2 hours a day. So like do your work in that 2 hours, get it done, take pictures if you have to, photocopy if you have to, but don't spend money on the textbooks you don't need to. And you really have to figure out, like, I would suggest not buying your textbook until like the first week, second week, because you kind of get a grasp on if the teacher really uses it. I have a good example. My first year biodiversity class, the prof was like, I'd suggest you get the readings. So I bought 2 of the textbooks, semester 1 and semester 2 at the same time. Semester 1 I used and I got an 85 on the test. Semester 2 I did not use at all and I got a 95 on the test. So please explain. But you really have to figure it out because some profs actually do use the textbooks for the exams. So kind of...
Yeah, rate my prof, and if there's like Facebook pages about courses, they'll tell you everything.
Yeah. Moving on to second year.
God, for me it just gets worse. Second year was by far the worst year for me. Oh God. So at this point, I still didn't get a grasp of like the time management skills because I was falling so behind. I just stopped studying and I'd like do bare minimum and like would get 70s because it was the same content. So I just transferred that technique over to second year. That did not work. Content was so much more newer. I had organic chemistry, which was the death of me. And yeah, I basically got all 50s in second year, which I don't tell people because it's pretty embarrassing. To the point where I was almost at academic probation. I was like a few like points off of that.
Did that give you a reality check?
Yeah, it did. It slapped me hard in the face and I'm like, oh my God, I have to quit school. Like I thought I had to drop out at one point. I was like debating if I should because I was doing so badly. I was super depressed. It was a bad time in my life. I always forget I did summer school too. So second year and then I did second year summer and then that's when everything changed for me. So I took 3 psych courses and they were both amazing courses. I got a 4.0 GPA and I was like, wow, and it changed my life. So if you take courses that interest you and you're motivated, you will do well.
Second year, my motivation for school went completely down. I keep telling people this, like when I talk. First year was all about school. Second year was all about my social life. My circle started expanding in second year, like I met new friends and things like that. But the thing is, I started putting all my energy into friendships and like having fun, stepping out of my comfort zone. I said that a lot second year.
You did.
It was a good thing because I like kind of crossed my boundaries in some ways and was like opening myself up to new people, but it was a bad thing because I wasn't focusing on my priorities. Like school, like I had no motivation, right? Right at the brink of like me not wanting to go to class and things like that, the strike happened at our campus. So we basically ended school in March. I remember being very confused. I think that was the first time I realized like I love being a student. Like I like studying. I like challenging myself with the assignments, even though it's stressful. Like I like doing that. Like that's why I'm in uni. But like that few months of strike, I just did nothing, and I was like overly socializing and not really focusing on school. Yeah, second year was a lot.
Did you want to give your advice for second year?
Second year, I would say that it's good to step out of your comfort zone and really explore like your groups. Like you don't have to stick to the same groups. You can explore different groups, hang out with new people, because I feel like that's when you're getting new perspectives on things. Because when you're hanging out with the same people, even though like you can have your close circle, hanging out with different people and hearing their perspectives really opens up your mind. I always say this, I don't think high school was the best 4 years of my life. I think uni was the most like challenging, like for your identity kind of thing. Like you form new perspectives, new angles. Like I learned so much things that kind of define me right now. Meeting new people was really good, but always prioritize yourself too. Like it's not bad to say no to a few social things because you have things to do. Yeah.
I'd say second year for me is get help if you need help with like studying. So I didn't understand most of the content, but then I would just keep going to classes, but I didn't study it.
Know about the academic sources there, like supports?
I did, but I just didn't want to do it because I felt embarrassed. I'm telling myself, go get the help, like ask a friend, ask the prof, ask your TAs. Like I was too scared to ask questions, so that really set me back. Third year, God bless, we're in third year. Yeah, third year was my favorite by far. Because after that second year in summer where I was so motivated again, I went in with that mindset that I'm going to do well, that I enjoyed my courses. And the first course I had was a biochemistry course, which everyone said was super hard. but my prof was amazing. She changed my whole life, and I fell in love with chemistry all over again. Third year winter semester, during December I studied for the PCAT, which is the pharmacy exam. So I studied for that, I did it, and I passed. Again, I had my bio and chem and psych courses in third year winter as well, and those were pretty good too. So I was interested again in the courses, so I was more motivated to study. And I also had a good friend who helped me throughout these 4 years. Thank you, Romana, shout out, for getting me through the 4 years.
Yeah, like I feel like you always have that one person in uni who like sticks with you.
Yeah, it's good to have friends who are in the same program as you, because then they can keep you updated with like what tests you have and like assignments.
Like keep you accountable to like to do your work. Yeah, honestly. Third year was also like my absolute favorite year because it was, first year was all studying, second year was all socializing, third year was a good balance. Like I figured my balance out. Also the courses, so social work, it's not very like, since it's a practical field, everything we were studying, they'd be like, oh, wait till the future when you practice.
You get to use it, yeah.
Right? So it was kind of just going over my head. I took this one course called communication where you had to practice like a client patient like relationship with the person. It was kind of like you role play and you act like the social worker, and it opened my mind. Like my prof was amazing, that course was awesome, and I fell in love with social work. I think it really got, you fell in love with chemistry, I fell in love with social work in third year.
I guess the one advice I would give myself is during first and second year I didn't join any clubs because I was already super stressed and overwhelmed by the amount of work I had to do. So by third year I already had the hang of things, so I would have told myself to like join a club. So
yeah,
that's what I would tell myself.
Oh, okay, I think I figured it myself. So third year summer, like what I'm doing right now, a lot of the courses are like policy and advocacy, and that's kind of one of my weakest subjects because I don't really watch the news. So I remember like I was sitting and everyone was talking about current events and politics, and I always stayed away from politics. I'm not sure why.
It's
like
just like I think culturally too, nobody talks about politics in our family. So.
Like so I didn't know anything, and this prof was also amazing where she was very passionate about policy and what she was teaching. So I kind of discovered that it's okay to be the not smartest person in the room, because I think I was used to being like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm studying,
but
at one point like I was like, it's okay if other people are smarter because that means you can learn from them.
I'd say something I forgot to mention. During first year I went in with the mindset that, oh my god, everybody got accepted so they must be smarter than me. So I was doubting myself the whole time, so that mindset really put me in like a bad position to start off with. And then that's why third year, because I got that 4.0 GPA, I felt so much better and I felt, oh, I belong here. So then that mindset changed, so then I was able to do better. So I think that's a good point to put into.
Yeah. Like, so you thought you didn't deserve to be there?
Yeah, exactly. I felt so out of place. So that was, Doing a biochem, I did a biochem and psych major. And so doing a double major means I had to take extra courses. So I took summer school all those years just to catch up on the courses. And then by third year, I already maxed myself out and I was done. I was on track. So then for fourth year, moving on, I only had to do 3 courses per semester. So the past couple of years, I was doing 5 courses per semester. And then doing 3 courses, I was able to work this time. So this is where work-school balance comes in. So I was working actually full-time. I did 5 days a week, and I had class 3 days a week. So I'd go to work, I'd go to school, then go to work, and like I tried to balance it out. But I think I overdid it at one point because my grades were starting to drop again because I was working too much. So I had to find a balance. So during exam times, I would take more days off just so I could focus on school.
Yeah, and I think that's a privilege for us to be able to kind of take days off. Because some people, like in our program, they're single mothers. They're like taking care of family. They have to be working. So we got blessed enough to be like, you know, we could take a few days off. But it took some time to learn that we can do that.
Yeah, my friend like told me, she's like, girl, you need time to study. I'm like, true, I do need time to study. So I'd start taking more days off. But yeah, finding that balance that works for you is really important.
Yeah. Also prioritize your health somewhere within uni, because first year, I just remember my energy being very low and I didn't realize it. Like I thought that was just normal. But then I realized I was eating junk food all the time. I wasn't working out, and like it was just really bad. And then second year we kind of started getting into eating healthy. We kind of took it step by step. Leave us a comment down below if you want to know our fitness journey. Eating healthy, taking care of yourself mentally and physically in university is so important. So you have energy to do work.
I didn't finish my 4th year experience.
You did it? Okay, go ahead. My bad.
Anyways, as I mentioned, I did the PCAT in 3rd year winter. I applied in October of 3rd year. I did the PCAT in January, and then we got our interviews in March, and I ended up getting the interview, and I was shook because my grades weren't that good. My PCAT score was okay. It was like what the required was. So I was super scared for doing the interview because it's a multiple mini interview. So those are like scenario based, and you have to answer questions on the spot, and you have to speak for 8 minutes. And if you know me and if you've seen our videos, you know I hate speaking. So I went to a few interviews, info sessions on how to do the interview, and I ended up doing the interview in May, so a couple months ago. And I got my results last week and I got it. And that was as exciting as that gets.
She literally cried when she opened her exception. What's it called?
Acceptance letter.
Acceptance. I mean exception. But like, I don't know, you don't have a gut feeling. Like, I just felt like she was working so hard towards her goal. It's kind of like when she got it, I'm like, I knew it, but I didn't want to say it because then you'd be like,
I was super stressed because first and second year, you heard my story, it was terrible. They basically look at your first and second year marks. So I'm like, okay, I'm not getting in based on my marks. So I'm guessing I did really well in the interview. So if you want an interview tips video, let me know.
There's a lot of practicing, and I had to ask like the examiner so many times. So we're here. And I'm going into my 4th year.
Cheers.
So this year I'll be doing some placement for social work and a few courses. So
nice.
We'll see.
I'm gonna do another 4 more years. Woohoo for me! Stuck in school for life.
Can you imagine, like, in 4 years later, we'll be doing a graduate school surviving video?
God,
that would be crazy.
That's intense. If we're still on YouTube in 4 years, if YouTube still exists.
Why do you always say that? Alright, so that's all for our first coffee chat episode. I almost said kopi because that's what our mom says. Kopi.
First kopi chat video. Yes.
I hope you guys enjoy this video and leave us a comment down below as to what other topics you want us to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we can talk. This is kind of how our chats go usually.
Yeah, this is what we do on a regular basis with each other, so I guess it's easier filming it.
Yeah.
And also comment down any questions you have about this video because we might have missed some things. So if you have any specific questions, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.